All right, let's dive into an important one. On January 27, 2026, EASA issued a critical proposed airworthiness directive for the Airbus A350. It's pad 26-015, and it's all about a potentially serious issue with the bulk cargo door. In this explainer, we're going to break down exactly what this means for you.
Now, when you see an official proposal like this from EASA, you know it's serious. This isn't just a friendly suggestion, right? It's a clear signal that a mandatory action is right around the corner, and it's a direct response to a safety concern that's been flagged in the A350 fleet.
Okay, so what's the actual problem here? What's the unsafe condition that got this whole thing started? Let's get straight to the root cause.
So here's the deal, and it's pretty straightforward, but also a bit concerning. They've had several reports from aircraft out in the field about bulk cargo doorstop screws, with their heads just gone, missing. We're talking about a small part for sure, but one with a seriously critical job.
And that finding, of course, brings up the big question, the one we all have to ask. What happens if this isn't caught? What's the real risk here?
Well, the answer from EASA is pretty major. If this is left uncorrected, it could lead to reduced structural integrity of the entire airplane. Yeah. It's a huge reminder that even a tiny little component failing can create a massive safety risk.
Right, so who needs to be worried about this? Let's talk applicability. Which specific aircraft are we looking at here?
And you really have to pay attention to the details on this one. It applies to the A350-941 and 1041 models, but, and this is a big but, only if they're in a very specific production configuration. You got to check two things. First, that modification 10357.3 is embodied, and second, that modification 16251 is not. So yeah, time to dig into those fleet records and check carefully.
All right, this is the part that maintenance and camo teams really need to lock in on. What do you actually have to do to comply? Let's break down the required actions and, just as important, the deadlines.
Okay, so the directive sets up a two-part inspection plan. First up, you've got an initial inspection that has to be done within 13,400 flight cycles. After that's done, you're on a repeated cycle. You have to do the same inspection again at intervals that don't exceed 5,200 flight cycles. This is all about ensuring continued airworthiness.
So what are these inspections? You'll see the terms GVI and DET. That's a general visual inspection of the stop screw itself and a detailed inspection of the stop fitting and its connection to the frame. And, you're not just winging it. The full how-to is laid out in the primary document Airbus Service Bulletin A350-52P074.
Okay, but what if you're doing one of these inspections and you find something? A missing screw head, maybe a crack, anything that the service bulletin flags as a problem.
The protocol here is simple, and it's not up for debate. If you find anything wrong, the required corrective actions must be accomplished before the next flight. Let me say that again, before the next flight. That means this is a potential grounding condition, which really underscores just how seriously EASA is taking this.
So, let's zoom out a bit from the nitty-gritty technical details and look at the big picture. What's the real impact on safety and, on daily operations?
The safety logic is actually super clear when you lay it out. The hazard, that's stop screw head failing. The fix, or the mitigation, that's the repetitive GVI and DET that this AD requires. And the result? Well, that's what we're all after, assured structural integrity of the airplane. It's a perfect example of a proactive safety measure in action.
Okay, for anyone in management or planning, here's the high-level summary. The impact is limited to a very specific A350 configuration, but there's a very real risk of unscheduled downtime, thanks to that before next flight rule. The bottom line, you absolutely have to get these repetitive checks built into your long-term maintenance planning. It's not optional.
All right, let's bring it all home with a quick compliance summary. We'll boil this down to the key things every single operator needs to know.
Here's the main takeaway, and it's a direct call to action for everyone involved. All operators must ensure full compliance with this directive by the deadlines, and this is key. You've got to coordinate your camo, planning, and maintenance teams to get this done right and on time. It's all about teamwork.
So let's just run through the essentials one last time. Who's affected? Specific A350-941s and -1041s. What do you have to do? Repetitive inspections of those bulk cargo doorstop screws and fittings. When? The initial check is by 13,400 flight cycles, then it's every 5,200 after that. And how? You've got to follow the instructions in that Airbus Service Bulletin to the letter.
And look, I have to say this, and it's probably the most important thing to remember.
While this explainer gives you the highlights, it's just a guide. The official EASA AD text and those related service bulletins, they are the only source of truth. For compliance, you have to go by the official documents, always.
Subscribe to AEROPODA YouTube channel.